Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video, an anime, or actually in this case a manga video. And today we'll be reviewing, or I will be reviewing chapter 54 of the Boruto manga. And it is kind of promising in the anime that we are finally going to be taking a dive into this canon world that is Boruto, as well as apparently it's called the Kara arc or something. I did take a look at it just for reference, as I did say that I wouldn't be bothering with the Boruto anime anymore. But I just wanted to briefly touch upon that I did check it out, and it's not horrible. The animation's a little bit fan-madey, but maybe that's just something to kind of adjust your eyes to. I did think that it was pretty cool seeing Kashin Koji for the first time, so that's cool. So that out of the way. My first thing that I thought of, as a discussion point when I, after reading the chapter, is Sasuke kind of better now that he effectively has the Rinnegan removed? I do think that he kind of is, and I don't know if that was kind of the right move to do in that way, to have him effectively lose his war spoil. Probably one of his coolest abilities in his eye, that is oddly enough very similar to Trafalgar Law's tack ability. But it is noteworthy to think that he almost seems like he's not getting drained as much on the chakra. We'll get to that later, because he definitely does get drained later on. But he is fighting great. I mean, you kind of got to give it to your boy again, to my boy anyways. He's doing a good job of acting and feeling like an OG Naruto character, and this kind of reminds me of the Sasuke that we got way back, before he was gloomy in the original series. And it's kind of fun seeing him interact like this. He's smart. He's able to dissect the fact that Baruto's, the chakra thing. I love how when I first read that, I had the same reaction that Kawaki had, which was like, what? How'd you come up with an idea like that? But he is actually, if you look at the whole Leaf Village elders, or people that are older, I would say that he's one of the smartest people along with Shikamaru. So the fact that he has the strategy in mind is pretty cool. They just defeated Ishiki, which was like, what is it? So I don't know if he's actually done. And it's kind of weird because at first I was confused because Kawaki, there's no panel that kind of differentiates between flashback and actual manga, right? Which is really weird and kind of distracting, because it's usually Kishimoto, I mean, maybe not, maybe it's been a while, but anyways, Kishimoto, I feel used to do the black borders, and then they would be the kind of thought bubble kind of things, or you could tell they were flashback, but this was more flashback fused with it, which, I mean, one thing it does create a confusion, and it does create kind of this jumbled, effect. But the positive of this is that it definitely does flow better with the chapter. I mean, if we had, kind of these long flashbacks, with the swing that we used to get, I feel that would be more of a deterrent, and kind of stop the flow. But this is great. This is actually good. It's moving the flow. And those flashbacks, by the way, they're good. They reminded me of what Kishimoto used to do with the flashbacks. So that was cool. But like I said, not only are we getting OG Sasuke, but he's actually using his other eye, which he rarely uses. And I could not tell you if he was using EMS or MS. I like to think that it's MS, but it's a very small panel. That's just what I'm thinking, because it's been a long time since we've seen that particular pattern. But it is interesting to note that if he is using just the Mangekyo Sharingan, I don't know how exactly he's able to just, I mean, I don't remember anyone ever being able to just switch like that between MS, EMS, and Rinnegan. And I think Sasuke can actually do that. So that's kind of an interesting little tidbit of information. And speaking of tidbit, we do get more information about the Otsutsuki clan overall. At least a little bit more. They apparently, even if you do defeat somebody like Ishiki, I guess 80% of his body, Kawaki's body, was transformed into an Otsutsuki. Not exactly sure if that makes a lot of sense. That also kind of creates a problem that, that Kawaki's way, 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 way too powerful, right? And I was just thinking, like, maybe this was why, I know that this came afterwards, but I wonder if this was actually why the Sage of Six Paths said, hey, here's the Sun and Moon seal, because I don't want you to actually kill Kaguya, because that would create another problem, or she would, latch herself. And the other thing that kind of comes to mind, too, especially during the war arc, is Black Zetsu kind of like that virus thing, that kind of keeps going? Like, Kaguya just kind of creates it, like, out of nowhere, like, as a last resort. But I kind of wonder if Black Zetsu itself is an Otsutsuki technique to kind of create life. Are they able to create separate kind of life? Or are they able to kind of create kind of the DNA, and it kind of makes sense that Black Zetsu would have the makeup to actually be able to create Kaguya again, because he could have, kind of these, like, USB bits, supposedly, that, can resurrect an Otsutsuki. Because they are kind of a parasite. So that's just what comes to mind. It's just something that I thought was pretty interesting. And I supposedly going to feed him to the Ten Tails. Not exactly sure that makes a lot of sense, when he could have just taken a weakened Naruto and Sasuke and fed him to the Ten Tails. And I know you might be going, wow, that's crazy. Like, yeah, but they're descendants of Indra and Ashura, as well as having the Rinnegan, and Naruto should still have the Six Paths, which we'll get to in a minute. And but those two abilities should have been able to feed to the Ten Tails and then do whatever he wants to do. I guess take over the planet. Momoshiki wants to consume the planet, which is not great motivation, but it is motivation nonetheless. So it is good to actually know about that. And we do get kind of a cool bit of tidbit of information too, as well, as that Boruto kind of has, if he does lose enough chakra, that if he's like tapped out, this is when Momoshiki comes in, right? So it's kind of, I like that because it creates more of like a drama, like oh no, like we can't get Boruto. Like almost, I could see in a future scenario somebody just being like, yeah, I got you, and like doing like that chakra transfer thing, just so that Boruto isn't like completely, tapped out, so that, Momoshiki doesn't take over. And also, I don't, that breaking of the horn thing, it definitely reminded me a lot of Bleach when Ichigo takes his mask off, in his fight against Byakuya, and says like, nah, I don't want you to fight for me, kind of thing. Obviously, it's kind of like just artistic wise, I'm saying they're kind of similar anyways. I just thought that was kind of an interesting point, that's kind of how Boruto is able to do it. I don't know if that horn significant, is like a significant thing, because oddly enough, we didn't see Kaguya's horns get, damaged or cut off, so we don't actually know. So that's kind of something that Boruto actually comes through, and he says, yeah, like that's just kind of what I came up to as a conclusion, and then he gets knocked out too. And then like the kind of the fight itself, I haven't really touched on that too much yet so far, but the fight itself is pretty good. I mean, it's not great. Kind of like, there's a lot of pages that are kind of wasted with, and it is kind of a little bit boring at times, but I do have to say that I did enjoy seeing the fight unfold. I mean, there were some panels that were a little confusing, like with Kawaki's blades and stuff, but I do like the fact that there is like this even take, and like there's like taijutsu being used, and Kawaki tries to burn himself up, which is cool. Something else that I just thought of just now was that, where's Code? I mean, if he's the one that's protecting the Ten Tails, did he also defeat Notsutsuki? I don't know. That's just one of those things. Like, the rest of the Kara members are kind of odd, and I kind of like Code, so I don't know what's going on there. Sasuke's also really weakened, and it kind of sucks because I don't know exactly. I mean, he still has perfect Susanoo, Amaterasu, all those, a decent Genjutsu, which I kind of wish we did see. We might still see it, but Boruto is knocked out, so. And this could be pretty significant, because at the very end, it does appear that Naruto may or may not be dead. I'm not going to just like say, oh yeah, I think he's dead, but I'm just going to say this right now, that if he does die in the way that he did, his last words were like, "Oh no, my body's full of lead." Like, that's kind of, ugh. You know, and people were saying like, "Oh, I read in the comments that that Kurama, anyways, sorry, that Kurama is actually like the one that is dead." And I don't think that makes any bit of sense. Kurama has been around since before humans existed, or at least early humans, the shinobi world anyway. So I'm kind of a little bit confused and a little bit like, what? The Kurama is dead? You know, so I don't know. He said his body's made out of lead, or at least feels like lead, so I don't know if that means that, you know, that Baragon, you know, mode, because it is a particle kind of thing, and it is kind of a nuclear kind of, you know, it actually kind of like gave him, I don't know, radiation sickness or some kind of crazy thing, you know, where it actually like deteriorates his body. I don't know if, but if it is something as simple as Kurama dying, it's like, what? You know, like that's fine, you know, like it would be a sad thing and all that, but if that's the case, that doesn't make any sense, because Naruto still has tails 1 through 8. Even a little sliver of it should be enough to not kill Naruto. And if he is dying, it's kind of like, wow, that's, I mean, like, cool, he became Hokage and stuff, but his death in the war was, like, more shocking. He's like, ugh! You know, and there's, like, that panel, and he's just, like, flying in midair, and he, you know, that's a very more dynamic panel, and he did actually pretty much die. I mean, Sakura was pumping his heart, so, I don't know. Considering he's part of the big three, I don't think Luffy or Ichigo would have such a anticlimactic death. So I hope that's not the case, and I hope he does do something like a more, I don't know. Kawaki always did say that he's going to send Boruto in the very first chapter to where this Lord's Seventh was. So I don't know what exactly that means. I don't know if like he's sending him to another dimension. He'd send him to another dimension. I don't know if Kawaki's the one that's going to kill him. You know, I don't know. And like Kawaki also doesn't have his Kurama mark, which is very confusing because he has it in the first chapter. So kind of wish the first chapter, as much as it was hype, I wish it didn't exist, because it's kind of confusing as to how things are going to play out now. If we didn't see that. So I don't know. It's there's a lot of possibilities. Hopefully I'll do a live reaction chapter 55 next month. It'd be pretty interesting, I think, especially if Naruto does die. I don't know if he will or will not, but even if he was knocked out for an entire arc, it would be pretty interesting if like Sasuke was the interment Kage. I think if anyone should be him, it should be either him or Shikamaru. Shikamaru would totally not be chilling with that, but I do think that would be a possibility. So anyways, if you like the video, give me a like, comment, subscribe, do all that you want to do. And anyways, hope everyone has a great day, and see you till next time.